Welcome to the Southern California Chinese Lawyers Association's 45th Anniversary Installation and Awards Banquet. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Amber Lee, and I'm very fortunate to work for CBS 2 and KCAL 9 News because they value the importance of community involvement and volunteerism and provided me the opportunity to be right here with you tonight. A couple of announcements before we begin. SCCLA's fundraiser for law student scholarships and fellowships is live. Visit the link and submit an entry for a chance to win a prize. And immediately after tonight's program, we invite you to stay for a casual closing reception. Tonight is SCCLA's first virtual banquet since its founding in 1975 as the first Asian Pacific American Bar Association in the country. The last year has been a year like no other. The world has been in the grips of the coronavirus pandemic. We've witnessed an attack on our capital on the heels of a summer of civic unrest. The tide of anti-Asian hate incidents across the country and the reality of systemic racism reared its ugly head, making it clear that we must all come together to ensure there is justice for all. Amidst these trying times, the public service and sense of community fostered by affinity bar associations such as SCCLA, a network of Chinese and Asian American lawyers, jurists, law students, and community leaders is more important than ever. Last summer, in the aftermath of George Floyd's murder, SCCLA organized a hate crimes CLE panel featuring, among other experts, Executive Director of APCON, Manjusha Kulkarni, whom you'll hear from tonight. Shortly after, SCCLA put on another CLE event on how litigators can identify and address anti-Asian bias in the jury selection process. For professional development of law students and younger lawyers, SCCLA kicked off 2020 with a panel on carving diverse pathways into big and mid-sized law. As everything turned virtual, SCCLA launched a clerkship panel series to enhance the pipeline of APA law clerks and externs in federal and state courts, and a mock interview program and panel on navigating virtual interviews. There was also time for fun and games. Before the shutdown, SCCLA members celebrated Lunar New Year and met up over coffee and remained connected through coffee and mixology happy hours, an ice cream making class, and there was even a trivia night. Finally, SCCLA thanks the 139 donors who supported the SCCLA Cares fundraiser from May to December last year. With over $8,000 raised, SCCLA partnered with local eateries and nonprofit organizations and healthcare facilities to deliver more than 1,000 hot meals to people most affected by COVID-19, such as frontline healthcare heroes, low-income seniors, domestic violence survivors, and people experiencing homelessness. Your support restored SCCLA's faith in the generosity of the human spirit during such dark times. SCCLA is proud to have recently relaunched SCCLA Cares, this time to raise funds for Asian Americans Advancing Justice LA's initiative to combat anti-Asian hate.
Now, SCCLA would like to recognize and thank our friends and allies in the community who sponsored tonight's event.
The 139th
And now, SCCLA is honored to present the following awards to distinguished leaders of our community, starting with the Lifetime Achievement Award.
SCCLA is honored to present this year's Lifetime Achievement Award to the Honorable Denny Chin, United States Circuit Judge of the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. Judge Chin is truly an icon and an inspirational trailblazer. Judge Chin graduated from Princeton University, magna cum laude, and received his law degree from Fordham Law School. After graduating from law school, Judge Chin practiced at Davis, Polk, and Wardwell. He then went on to serve as an assistant United States attorney in the Southern District of New York. He and two of his colleagues from the U.S. Attorney's Office started a law firm called Campbell, Patrick, and Chin. Then in 1990, he joined Vladeck, Waldman, Elias, and Engelhardt, PC, where he specialized in labor and employment law. From September 13, 1994, and through April 23, 2010, Judge Chin served as a United States District Judge for the Southern District of New York. He presided over a number of notable matters, including cases involving Megan's Law. He also presided over the trial of an Afghan warlord charged with conspiring to import heroin and the guilty plea and sentencing of financier Bernard L. Madoff. On April 26, 2010, Judge Chin was sworn in as United States Circuit Judge for the Second Circuit. Judge Chin taught legal writing at Fordham Law School for more than 30 years. And he also taught Asian Americans and the law at Fordham, Harvard, and Yale Law Schools. SCCLA commends Judge Chin for his tireless leadership and dedication to promoting diversity and making an impact in the AAPI communities. Without further ado, I present this year's SCCLA Lifetime Achievement Award to the Honorable Denny Chin.
Good evening. Many thanks for this great honor. I first received a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2005. I remember thinking then, I'm too young for this. Now, 16 years later, I can't say that. In fact, I will be taking senior status this June and entering, I suppose, the next phase of my life. I will continue to hear cases with a somewhat lighter load. Perhaps I'll do some more teaching. I feel pretty good about my accomplishments so far, but there's still much to be done, particularly in light of the events of the past year and a half. It has been a difficult time for everyone, but perhaps particularly for Asian Americans. The acts of violence and harassment against Asian Americans since the start of the pandemic, indeed even before, are horrific and disturbing. But they are not a recent phenomenon. There is a long and sordid history of anti-Asian violence and discrimination in this country. The largest mass lynching in American history, for example, took place in Los Angeles in 1871, when 17 Chinese men and boys were hanged by an angry mob. That history of discrimination includes the Chinese Exclusion Acts. My grandfather managed to come to this country from China in 1916 despite those racist laws. He bought a piece of paper pretending to be the son of a U.S. citizen, and thus he gained admission. He went back to China only twice, once in the 1920s when he got married, and once in the 1930s when my father was born. Both times he came back to America because he could make more money here as a waiter than he could in China. And both times he had to leave his family behind because of the immigration laws. My grandfather was naturalized as a U.S. citizen in 1947. I believe the ceremony took place in the very courthouse where I now sit. Because he became a U.S. citizen and because of immigration reform, he was able to bring his family, including me, to this country in 1956. My parents' original Chinese passports show that we were admitted under the Refugee Relief Act, of 1953. My parents spoke very little English. My father was a cook in Chinese restaurants, and my mother was a seamstress in Chinatown garment factories. But we did okay. I've become deeply interested in Asian American legal history, largely because of the reenactments of Asian American cases that we have done. There's much to learn from these cases. What has impressed me the most is how hard Asian Americans fought for their rights, even though they had limited resources and often had to make great personal sacrifice. These individuals remind me of my grandfather when he traveled here across the ocean on a steamship more than 100 years ago with no money and speaking no English to wait on tables so that he could support his family back in China. These individuals included Chinese women suspected of being prostitutes, Chinese laundrymen and laborers denied equal protection, South Asians stripped of their U.S. citizenship because they were not deemed white, Filipino cannery workers relegated to subservient jobs, and Japanese Americans, American citizens, imprisoned in concentration camps. They were not afraid to fight for their rights. And so, as we confront our current challenges, we would do well to keep these trailblazers, as well as our grandparents and parents and others who came before them, in mind. Thank you very much.
Congratulations to Judge Denny Chin, and thank you for your years of service to the legal community and the public.
It is my honor to introduce our next honoree for the SCCLA Impact Award, Ivan Fong. Mr. Fong is the Executive Vice President, Chief Legal and Policy Officer, and Secretary for 3M, where he leads the company's legal team of more than 550 people. Before joining 3M, Mr. Fong served as General Counsel for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, where he advised senior national security officials and led a department of 1,800 lawyers. Before that, Mr. Fong worked as General Counsel for Cardinal Health and General Electric Vendor Financial Services. He also served as a Deputy Associate Attorney General at the U.S. Department of Justice, was a partner at Covington & Burling, and he served as a law clerk to United States Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. In other words, Mr. Fong has had the equivalent of 4 sterling careers combined into one. But Mr. Fong's achievements are matched by his commitment to pro bono work. Under his leadership, attorneys at 3M have performed thousands of hours of pro bono work, partnering with Southern Minnesota Regional Legal Services, Legal Corps, and the Children's Law Center of Minnesota to assist low-income clients, young entrepreneurs, and foster children. Mr. Fong is also a member of the Council of the American Law Institute, and he serves on the board of Equal Justice Works, a national nonprofit that supports recent law school graduates in their public interest careers. While Mr. Fong's accolades are too numerous to list here, he has received many notable awards, including the NAPABA Trailblazer Award, the Asian American Legal Defense Fund Justice in Action Award, and the ABA Spirit of Excellence Award. And on a personal note, I will use this opportunity to thank you, Ivan, for your mentorship to me personally more than 15 years ago, when I was just a college student. Your advice and example shaped me and inspired me then, as they still do today, and I can only imagine the countless other young attorneys whom you have mentored and inspired over the years. Each year, SCCLA bestows the Impact Award on a person whose work and contributions have not only exemplified excellence, integrity, and character, but also someone whose example inspires all of us, particularly members of the Asian American legal community, to continue to strive for those values in our careers. This year, of all years, we cannot think of anyone more deserving of this award than Ivan Fong. As the coronavirus pandemic swept across the world, 3M and its legal team were faced with unprecedented demand for its respirator masks and other protective equipment. One can only imagine the web of legal, compliance, and regulatory challenges that 3M had to navigate. Lucky for them, they had Mr. Fong at the helm. As it happens, SCCLA is not alone in its recognition of Mr. Fong's leadership in the face of adversity. This year, the American Lawyer named the legal department at 3M the best legal department of the year. So, it is my great honor to present this year's SCCLA Impact Award to Ivan K. Fong. Please join me in congratulating him and listening to the remarks he has prepared for us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much for honoring me with this year's SCCLA Impact Award. Thank you also for giving me the opportunity to share the stage, even if only virtually, with Judge Denny Chin. I can think of no one more fitting than Judge Chin to honor for their lifetime achievements. Judge Chin is a true pioneer, a trailblazer, and an inspirational role model, and I'm fortunate to call him a friend and mentor. I remember once when I was visiting New York, he graciously invited me to visit him in his chambers, showing me the large dictionary in his chambers that was originally Justice Thurgood Marshall's when he was a judge on the Second Circuit. I can only dream of having the career and professional influence that Judge Chin has had and continues to have. Congratulations also to Manjusha Kulkarni for her work leading the Asian Pacific Policy and Planning Council, and to the 2021-2022 SCCLA Board of Governors. I wish I could physically be with all of you to applaud you in person. It's a special honor to receive this award at your 45th anniversary installation and awards banquet. Now, when I think of things that have been around for 45 years, I think they seem like they've been around forever, but not really. Take Microsoft, for example, or Saturday Night Live, or how about the Federal Rules of Evidence? Am I right? Things that seem like they've been around forever, but not really. People who are 45 years old, on the other hand, seem young to me. Think of Angelina Jolie, David Beckham, Reese Witherspoon. Maybe it's just that I'm getting old, but I'd like to think of SCCLA, despite its illustrious history as the oldest Asian American bar association in the country, as still being pretty young, with its best days ahead of it. It's fitting that this award is called the Impact Award, for we all want to make an impact. I'm proud of the impact 3M has had this past year, fighting the global pandemic from all angles. Starting in January 2020, for example, we increased our global manufacturing of PPE products to unprecedented levels, making nearly 4 times as many 3M N95 respirators than before the pandemic. In the US alone, we are now producing more than 95 million N95 respirators every month, thanks to ramped up production at our facilities in South Dakota and Nebraska. And we are partnering with our distributors, as well as federal, state, and local governments, to help ensure our products are getting to where they are needed the most. I'm also grateful to have had the opportunity to help lead 3M's ongoing efforts to address fraud, counterfeiting, and price gouging of PPE products during the pandemic. Hundreds of 3Mers across the company and around the world have joined together in our aggressive response to pandemic profiteers who seek to take unlawful advantage of the tremendous demand for our products. Our efforts are designed to help heroic healthcare workers, first responders, and other users get the genuine 3M N95 respirators they need and deserve at a fair price. So how can you have an impact? There's no simple formula, but let me offer a few thoughts for your consideration. First, it starts with a service mindset. Think about how you can use your gifts and talents to be of service to others. Being selfless and sacrificing for others are important ways to have an impact. If you're with a law firm or company, join the Alliance for Asian American Justice to help provide pro bono legal support and advocacy to victims of anti-Asian hate crimes and harassment. As Marian Wright Edelman, the founder of the Children's Defense Fund, famously said, "Service is the rent we pay for being. It is the very purpose of life and not something you do in your spare time." Second, you can have an impact simply by demonstrating good character. Traits such as integrity, honesty, humility, and courage can seem old-fashioned these days, but I'm confident those around you will, perhaps even unbeknownst to you, be positively influenced by your character. Dwight Eisenhower put it well. "The supreme quality of leadership," he said, "is unquestionably integrity. Without it, no real success is possible." Third, you cannot go wrong in life if you adopt a continuous learning mindset. We all fail and make mistakes. The key to having an impact is to pick yourself up, treat your setbacks as learning opportunities, and keep going. A lot has been said during the pandemic and in these times of racial reckoning about the importance of resilience. Having a growth mindset and staying curious about the world around you are critical to building resilience. This includes being curious about other people, for a surefire way to make an impact is to have a broad network of people. After all, every new person you meet is a door to another world. And finally, be your authentic self. Spend some time reflecting on who you are, your core beliefs and values, and your calling or purpose in life. In today's world of ubiquitous social media and greater transparency, leaders who want to have an impact must be grounded and authentic. If you act in alignment with your core values, if you listen with empathy, grace, and compassion, and if you lead with your head and your heart, people are more likely to trust and follow you. A good head and a good heart, noted Nelson Mandela, are always a formidable combination. There you have it: service, character, continuous learning, and authenticity. If you haven't figured it out already, to have an impact, make sure you cultivate a SCCLA mindset: service, character, continuous learning, and authenticity. Thank you again for this singular honor. It means a great deal to me. And please do continue the good work you're doing to advocate and raise the voices of the AAPI legal community here in Southern California and nationally. Thank you very much.
Congratulations to Ivan Fong on the remarkable strides you've made during your career.
I am Vicky Cho, Secretary of SCCLA. I am privileged to introduce Manjusa Kulkarni, this year's recipient of the Delbert Wong Distinguished Service Award. The late Judge Delbert E. Wong was the first person of Chinese descent to serve in the judiciary in the continental United States. Judge Wong was instrumental in creating SCCLA and served as a trailblazer and role model for Chinese and Asian Americans. The Delbert Wong Distinguished Service Award is granted to individuals recognized for their contributions to the Asian and Pacific Islander American communities. We have chosen Manju as this year's recipient of this award for her tireless work on behalf of the AAPI community. Manjusa Kulkarni is the Executive Director of the Asian Pacific Policy and Planning Council, a coalition of over 40 community-based organizations that serves and represents the 1.5 million Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in Los Angeles County. In March 2020, Manju co-founded Stop AAPI Hate, the nation's leading aggregator of COVID-19 related hate incidents against AAPIs. On March 18, 2021, Manju testified before Congress at the House Judiciary Subcommittee on the Constitution, Civil Rights, and Civil Liberties on the issue of anti-Asian hate. She shared Stop AAPI hate data as well as policy recommendations for addressing the current wave of racism and discrimination faced by AAPIs in the United States. Almost a year ago, before the recent wave of anti-Asian hate crimes made this issue more prominent, Manju helped SCCLA put together an event on hate crimes, with Manju talking about the rise in anti-Asian hate incidents and the rhetoric that contributed to it. Since then, as anti-Asian hate incidents and crimes have unfortunately continued to grow, I have seen Manju herself or her name seemingly everywhere. I can speak firsthand to her dedication and professionalism. She's always incredibly gracious and generous with her time and willing to participate in any forum addressing the issues. I have seen, as I'm sure you have, comments on social media and the internet of people questioning whether the attacks on Asians are actually racially motivated or can properly be categorized as hate crimes. My heart falls whenever I see these comments. But I know that out there, battling the ignorance is Manju. We thank her for her contributions to SCCLA and to the broader Asian American community at large, and award to her the Delbert Wong Distinguished Service Award. We've asked her to say a few words about her work and the current climate.
Good evening, everyone. It is a real pleasure to be with you all for the SCCLA 45th Anniversary Installation and Awards Banquet. And I'm truly honored to receive the Honorable Delbert Earl Wong Service Award. I first became aware of SCCLA as a law clerk at the ACLU in the mid-90s. It was there that I began my career in civil rights law and specifically working with and on behalf of AAPI communities. I researched a case involving Japanese Latin Americans who were abducted by the U.S. government from their home countries and placed into incarceration camps around the U.S. during World War II. After graduating from law school, I served on the pro bono legal team representing these former internees, seeking an apology and redress from the U.S. government. Unfortunately, it would not be the last time I saw members of the Asian American community experiencing discrimination. This past year, I've seen too much hate directed at Asian American Pacific Islander communities. It was because of an incident here in Southern California where a 12-year-old boy was physically attacked and verbally assaulted on the schoolyard and accused of being a coronavirus carrier that APCON began to work on these issues. I co-founded Stop AAPI Hate with Cynthia Che from Chinese for Affirmative Action and Russell Jung from San Francisco State University. Within a few weeks of launching, we received several hundred incident reports. That number has grown to almost 4,000 through February 2021 from across the country. The vast majority of incidents reported to Stop AAPI Hate are hate incidents and not hate crimes. That is, there's no underlying criminal element. Sadly, AAPI women have borne the brunt of hate, reporting 68% of incidents to our reporting center. In terms of discrimination, verbal harassment tops the list at 65%, followed by physical assaults at 11%, and civil rights violations at just under 10%. Chinese Americans make up a plurality of individuals who report to Stop AAPI Hate, followed by Koreans, Vietnamese, and Filipino Americans. In the past 13 months, we have learned that AAPIs do experience racial discrimination and that some of the hate of the past, in the form of the yellow peril, is still with us today. Our work on these issues indicates that our civil rights infrastructure is lacking, which makes addressing the 95% of hate incidents against AAPIs extremely difficult. And we've come to understand that there is significant underinvestment in Asian American and Pacific Islander communities by our government and American businesses. It is therefore incumbent on each and every one of us to get involved. We can urge action from our city councils to pass a resolution to condemn anti-Asian hate. We can demand resources from our local, state, and federal governments for AAPI communities and demand the same from businesses we work at and buy from. And we can become more engaged. We can vote every election cycle, become more civically engaged, calling and emailing our electeds on important legislation that's pertinent to our communities. And we can and should run for office. I want to thank you again to SCCLA for bestowing this great honor on me. I am confident that we can end the racism experienced by our communities, and I know that with your help, we can stop AAPI hate. Thank you.
Congratulations to Manjusha P. Kulkarni, and thank you for the remarkable work you do for our community, especially with the Stop AAPI Hate Initiative. Now please enjoy a brief entertainment interlude. Now please welcome Jason Leong, the outgoing SCCLA president.
Congratulations to tonight's honoree and the 2021 SCCLA Board for putting together another amazing event. Tonight's banquet is a virtual banquet, the first ever in SCCLA's more than 45 years of history. It is amazing to watch you guys work. I have been with the organization for 10 plus years now. And during that time, I've worked with many of you, many former board members. And the one thing that always stuck with me about SCCLA is the ability for the people it attracts and ability for those people to work together as a group to overcome challenges and to give back to the community. Last year was no exception. Last year in many ways was one of the most difficult years that we have ever faced. And yet SCCLA rose to the challenge. It put on events to educate the community. It found a way to host its monthly legal clinic for the community to give back to the community. It found ways to raise funds to feed frontline workers and those who are most in need. And I have to say, as a member of SCCLA, as part of SCCLA, it is that work that makes me most proud of SCCLA and its history. It is what the organization is about. Among the many people who have contributed to SCCLA during last year, during my tenure as president of the organization, there is one person I like to give special recognition to. Like all others, she devoted her time to SCCLA, but in many ways, her work was behind the scenes, and it was largely thankless, related to a lot of paperwork that SCCLA has to go through as an organization, has to make sure it's in proper order. And she devoted just as much attention to that work as many others who are organizing events and doing more of the fun stuff, I would say. And Elisa Edelson, thank you for your work, for putting in the time and putting in the effort to help make sure that we as an organization can continue to move forward and operate, and also to continue to give back to the community. Without your work, it would have been much, much more difficult. So for that, I would like to recognize you with the Outgoing President's Award. Unfortunately, because this is virtual, I have no way of handing that to you. So I trust it will be mailed to you in due course. Thank you again for allowing me a few minutes to speak. Thank you to the 2021 board members, and thank you to the 2020 board members for moving the organization forward. I look forward to all the great work that you guys will continue to do going forward in years to come. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you for all your years of service to SCCLA, Jason. All right, now it's time to install the 2021 SCCLA Board of Governors, the Honorable Elaine Liu of the Los Angeles Superior Court, who is a SCCLA past president, and she'll install the SCCLA Board tonight.
Good evening, everyone. It is my great honor to administer the oath to the 46th Board of the Southern California Chinese Lawyers Association. In these trying times, there is so much hatred and prejudice being directed against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders all across this nation. These attacks are a direct assault on justice. And in these trying times that test the strength of our institutions and our democracy, more than ever before, we need leaders like the 20 of you to rise to the challenge, to lend your powerful voice to stand up for the vulnerable and often elderly victims of hate crimes, to right the wrongs of racial injustice, poverty injustice, and gender injustice, and to propel us toward a more equitable society. We are so grateful for your courage and your strength in carrying on SCCLA's proud tradition of service to the community in times like this. Without further ado, can you please each raise your right hand? Do each of you solemnly pledge that you will devote your time, your skills, and your energy to promoting and advocating for the mission of the Southern California Chinese Lawyers Association, that you will provide strong leadership and wise counsel to its board and officers, that you will assist and mentor its members and help them achieve their professional goals, that you will work to advance the interests of all Asian Pacific Americans, our legal system, and the rule of law, that you will support the articles and bylaws of the Southern California Chinese Lawyers Association, and that you will faithfully discharge to the best of your ability the duties and responsibilities of the office into which you are about to enter. If you agree, please say I do.
I do.
I do.
I do.
Congratulations to the Southern California Chinese Lawyers Association Executive Board 2021-2022. We look forward to all the wonderful and much needed work that you will undertake for SCCLA.
Now I would like to welcome the incoming 2021 SCCLA President, Elizabeth Yang, to give her incoming President's speech.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome again to SCCLA's 45th Installation and Awards Banquet. My name is Elizabeth Yang, and I am so humbled to be sworn in as the 2021 SCCLA President alongside the entire 2021 SCCLA Board this evening. First of all, congratulations again to tonight's honorees, the Honorable Denny Chen, Ivan Fong, and Manjusha Kulkarni. Each of you are an inspiration, and thank you for your dedicated service to our community. We are honored to include you in our long list of honorees that have accumulated over the years. For those of you who don't know, SCCLA was formed in 1975, and our mission is to advance the professional growth and interests of Chinese and American lawyers, jurists, and law students, improve the access of the Chinese and Asian American communities to legal services, and promote the interests of the Chinese American and broader Asian American communities. I first joined SCCLA as a law student 17 years ago in 2004. During that time, Betty Chen was the incoming president, and she was such an inspirational leader in my eyes. I had actually met Betty serendipitously when our families were in the same tour group together vacationing in China. Betty learned that I was a law student and immediately invited me to come and sell raffle tickets at the upcoming installation banquet. For the next 4 years, I continued to sell raffle tickets at every SCCLA banquet, which during that time, for those of you who may remember, was held at Empress Pavilion in Chinatown. I remember being overwhelmed by the number of judges and leaders all in one room together, and approaching them to sell tickets was a stretch for me at the time. I also remember subsequently networking at SCCLA's annual Summer Associate Mixer, which is held at the Bonaventure Brewing Company year after year. It was yet another stretch to approach a group of lawyers or judges who I had never met and introduce myself. However, with each passing event and each passing year, the legal circle got smaller, and the number of people I would recognize at events increased. After several more years of continuing to be active with SCCLA, I got accepted onto the SCCLA Board of Governors in 2012, and here I am 9 years later being installed as president. When folks told me that it was tougher to become the president of SCCLA than it is to make partner at a large law firm, they sure weren't kidding. But after all of these years of service at SCCLA, not only have I grown in my confidence and network, but I have also made lifelong friends, had the opportunity to give back in so many different ways to the legal community, and have created so many unforgettable memories. They say that the getting is in the giving, and it is so true. Do you know what the difference is between success and fulfillment? Success is getting what you want. Fulfillment is giving what you've got. I am so grateful that SCCLA has offered me this platform to give back and contribute to practice my leadership skills and to have fun and build connections along the way. It really is an incredible network of lawyers, judges, and law students that have come together over the years. In this past year especially, we've been able to overcome some unprecedented events, and yet here we are still united and strong. In response to the pandemic, we created the SCCLA Cares program to fundraise and feed frontline workers and those in need of support. In response to the recent hate crimes, SCCLA has led the community in speaking up, provide opportunities for folks in the community to voice their opinion. And in the last year, we've organized opportunities and virtual events and informational webinars for everyone to come together and learn, even online. I am so proud of our organization for all of the shifting that we've done in this past year. And I invite all of you to come and attend as many of our upcoming events as you can. To conclude, I would like to thank my dedicated Board of Governors for all of their hard work, for all of our sponsors tonight, for my family, my friends, and each and every one of you who are supporting us here tonight. Thank you for making this evening possible, and I hope to see you all in person soon.
Thank you, Elizabeth. We look forward to the good work you will do for SCCLA this year. I would now like to invite SCCLA board member and chair of the Scholarships Committee, Christine Chen, to share about the SCCLA scholarships and fellowships awarded in 2020.
On behalf of the Southern California Chinese Lawyers Association and SCCLA's Scholarship Committee, thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Christine Chen, Chair of the Scholarship Committee. The SCCLA Scholarship Fund annually awards $1,000 scholarships and $2,000 fellowships to law students based on academic merit, financial need, and/or demonstrated commitment to the Asian American communities. In 2020, during an unprecedented and challenging year due to the pandemic, SCCLA was able to award over $19,000 in scholarships and fellowships to 16 deserving law students. We are grateful to the generous donors who made this all possible last year. I want to give a big congratulations to our 2020 Scholarship and Fellowship Award recipients. The 2021 scholarship application is now available on our website, scala.org. 100% of the proceeds from tonight's auction goes towards the SCCLA Scholarship Fund. So don't forget to bid before the end of the night. Thank you again to all our generous donors who helped fund these scholarships for decades. We look forward to celebrating another year recognizing the hard work and commitment of our rising law students who will become future leaders in the Asian Pacific American legal community. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I want to recognize the outstanding efforts of the Board of Governors Banquet Planning Committees who put together SCCLA's first ever virtual banquet. We hope you had a good time, and please stick around for our closing reception starting right after this message from the SCCLA Board.
Thank you for joining us tonight for the 45th Annual Banquet of the Southern California Chinese Lawyers Association.
2 years have passed since our last banquet, and the world is a different place.
Our country has been reeling from the death and damage caused by the coronavirus pandemic.
The killings of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor ignited a movement that cried out for justice, not just for these victims, but for all Black lives.
Then and now, we stand with the Black community against all forms of racism. But this past year, the Asian American and Pacific Islander communities are also grieving for another reason.
Since the start of the pandemic, thousands of us have fallen victim to an unprecedented rise in hate crimes, fueled by xenophobia, racism, and even by leaders in government who've deliberately stoked anti-Asian sentiment for political gain.
We have all been outraged and shaken as we watched videos of our elders being assaulted in public. And we were horrified by the mass shooting that took the lives of 8 people, 6 of whom were Asian women.
This year, on the 40th anniversary of the murder of Vincent Chin, we are reminded that these acts of hate against our community are nothing new.
Enough is enough. As we have seen in the past several weeks, Asians in America are standing up to the hate. Our leaders in both the public and private sectors have demanded that something be done.
And we have a rare opportunity to raise awareness and bring change. Public statements and thoughts and prayers are important, but they are not enough. We must act.
Act to ensure that the victims of hate crimes receive not only help, but justice.
Act to ensure that our leaders not only see our grief, but respond with the laws that protect us.
Act to ensure that more Asian Americans are elevated to places of leadership, not just to recognize their equal worth, but also to help ensure that our government is never again used as a weapon of oppression.
For its part, SCCLA has sponsored a series of events on anti-Asian hate, including a panel on the history of hate crimes in LA and panels on how to address anti-Asian bias in juries and in schools.
We met with community leaders to learn about their needs and joined with sister bar associations for APA Unity Night and a showing of solidarity and strength.
We attended a special LAPD commission meeting on anti-Asian violence.
And we pledged over $3,000 in donations from the SCCLA community and board to Asian Americans Advancing Justice LA to support its fight against anti-Asian hate.
And we will continue to serve the mission for which SCCLA was founded.
To advance the interests of Chinese and Asian American lawyers and the communities at large.
To improve legal access through our legal aid clinics, and to support the next generation of lawyers through our scholarships and fellowships.
Whether you are student or judge or lawyer or lawmaker or friend of SCCLA.
If you're here tonight with us, it's because you care about this community.
We hope tonight is a small reminder of how far we've come, but also that we are not alone.
Because we are united in a common purpose.
We still have a lot of work ahead.
But the only way through this
is
together.
Together.